Sleepless in Seattle. It's in Chicago at a gravesite. Sam says, Mommy got sick. It just happened like that. There was nothing anybody could do, but if we start asking why, we'll go crazy. At work, a co-worker offers Sam a counseling card, and Sam pulls out several of them, and he says, I think it's time for some real change. A new city, someplace where every time I go around the corner, I don't think of Maggie. Then you see him at an airport. His brother and sister-in-law, Susie. Susie says, in a few months, you'll start seeing women. Sam says, then in a few months, I'll just grow a new heart. It just don't happen twice. Number 2, Annie and Walter, Baltimore, 18 months later, Christmas season. Annie and Walter is at Annie's family's house, and her mom says, Annie has an announcement, and Annie says, Walter and I are engaged. And Mom says, Walter is a formal name. The look of Annie's face says she hadn't given Walter's name much thought until her mom pointed it out. Maybe she's beginning to think about Walter's family. Number 3, Seattle, Christmas season. Annie listens to the radio as she drives to Walter's family. Sam and says, Jonah and I will get along just fine as soon as I break his radio. Dr. Marshall feels some asks, do you think there is someone you could love as much as your wife? Sam replies, Dr. Marshall, that's hard to imagine. And Dr. Marshall says, Sam, tell me what was so special about your wife. Sam says, it was a million tiny little things that when you add them all up, it just meant we were supposed to be together. And I knew it. I knew it from the very first time I touched her. It was like coming home, only to no home I've ever known. I was just taking her hand to help her out of a car, and I knew it. It was like magic. Sam and Annie both say the word magic at the same time. To me, that is the first sign that the two of them belong together. Number 4, New Year's Eve night. Walter and Annie were at a dance. As they were dancing, you could tell by the look on Annie's face, Annie was wondering what was Sam doing. Sam is already a part of her life, and he doesn't even know it. Later, Annie gets out of the bed, and the words of the song tell the story that during the day we can always find something to do, but at night there's nothing to do but lie awake and think about the boy, and never think of counting sheep. Then she peels an apple in one long strip Thinking about the boy brings them even more into her life. She's listening to Sam talk about his wife, fills her head of him, and by the time he's done, she can't believe she's crying again. Sam is explaining dating to Jonah. He tells him that first you go out for drinks, then if everything goes okay, you go out for dinner. Sam says, I wonder if it still works this way. Jonah says, they ask you out. Sam said, I'm starting to notice that. Sam calls Victoria, a decorator who laughs like a hyena, to ask her out for a drink. But it ends up being a dinner date. Victoria arrives late at the restaurant. Sam gets a phone call from Jonah asking if they can go to New York on Valentine's Day because Annie wants to meet him there, and Annie's parents said that if they booked now that they could get an excursion fare. And Sam said, I'm not going to have this conversation right now. You go to bed. Sam, Jonah, and Victoria are at the airport. Victoria is flying out. This is the last time we see her. Annie is flying in. Sam is explaining dating to Jonah that everyone is an adjustment. Nobody's perfect. That's when Sam sees Annie for the first time. Sam tries to catch up with her, but she gets lost in the crowd. The beach. Annie watched as Sam played with Jonah on the beach. The next day, Annie follows Sam with Jonah as they boat to the beach, but Annie wasn't expecting Sam's sister-in-law, Susie, to show up. But when she does, Annie thinks she's the hoe that Jonah was talking about the other evening. A semi is blowing its horn because Annie is in the middle of the road. And Sam sees Annie and says hello. Annie responds hello. Then Annie leaves and flies back to Baltimore. Annie goes through her mail and finds a letter from Seattle. Becky, played by Rosie O'Donnell, her best friend, says, so I mailed your letter. Jonah writes Annie back. Okay, Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. Jonah flies to New York and spends the day asking women if they are Annie. And each one says no. Finally, Sam gets to Jonah. As they leave, they talk about getting a dog. That's when Annie gets there and discovers Jonah's book bag. Sam and Jonah return to look for the book bag, which Annie found and was going through it when Sam and Jonah returns. Of course, Jonah asks, are you Annie? And Annie says yes. And Sam says, you're Annie? Jonah introduces Annie to his dad. The elevator operator clears his throat, letting them know it's time to go. Sam holds out his hand to take Annie's hand. A smile is on everyone's face. It's a good thing the camera guy got a close-up of their hands. So, in the elevator, Annie says, "Nice to meet you, Sam." And the commentary on the DVD, uh, some extra things that Tom Hanks does during the movie. The scene at the front door, Sam drops a batch of mail, and that is to signal the end of the scene, which is called a button. The scene where Sam and Jonah are brushing their teeth, Jonah asks if Sam is going to have sex if he gets a new wife. Sam said, "I certainly hope so." Jonah explained that women are always screaming and scratching up the guy's back, and Sam asked, "How did he know?" Jonah said, "Jed's got cable." As they are walking out of the bathroom, Sam repeats the line, "Jed's got cable," meaning the end of the scene and creating another button. And there were some conversations. Tiramisu and Swatches with Jay, which is played by Rob Reiner. And The Dirty Dozen, which is with Greg, Victor Garber, I believe, and they was improvised. I hope to see you next time. Please hit the like button and subscribe and hit the little bell. Thank you.